Hi everyone! Today we're going to be looking at the book One Step Further, My Story of Math, the Moon, and a Lifelong Mission by NASA computer Kather Johnson with her daughters Joylette Hylick and Kather Moore. And this book was illustrated by Charnelle, Pinkney, Barlow. Let's talk about what we know about this book. So we already learned that this book is about Kather Johnson. And Kather Johnson's story takes place in the 1950s, which was like 70 years ago. This story is also going to be talking about math. It's going to be talking about the moon. And the moon we can associate with space. So we know this book is going to be touching upon math and science and space. It's probably also going to talk about the study of space, which is called astronomy. And people who study space are called astronomers, two words that we will be adding to our word wall. Also, while we read, we should be asking ourselves questions. So let's start formulating some questions together. While we read this book, we should also be thinking of questions. For example, what is involved in the study of space? Is math involved in science? And also, do we know any other women in science or Black Americans in science? While we read, we'll be filling out our KWL chart, specifically the W part, which is what you want to know. So let's think of questions together while we read. One Step Further, My Story of Math, the Moon, and a Lifelong Mission by NASA computer Kather Johnson with her daughters Joylette Hylick and Kather Moore, and illustrated by Charnelle, Pinkney, Barlow. I'm Kather Johnson. Maybe you've heard of me. I help send American astronauts into space and bring them safely home again. And here's a picture of Katherine and her 3 daughters, and there's an illustration of Katherine. We're Katherine's daughters, and we're proud of our mom. Not only did she help send humans to the moon and back, she fought for equal rights for women and for African Americans here on Earth. And here are her 3 daughters, Joylette, Connie, and Kathy. Our smart and courageous mom went one step further than many Black women before her. And thanks to her leading the way, we went even further still. This is our story. As a child, I loved numbers, and I loved to count. Every day, I count the steps to school. And here's a photo of Katherine and her husband and her dog. My daughters, Joylette, Connie, and Katherine, love to count too. 4 plates, 3 girls, 2 churches on our street, 1 little dog. Math and music filled our home. Jacks with onesie twosie, hopscotch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and piano. Music is like math. You count beats like you count on numbers. 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beat, 4. And love and learning filled our lives. Every Sunday we went to church. And every weekday, the girls went to school. They counted each step as they went. We all love to learn. When Connie started school, I wanted to start school too. I followed her, and the teacher let me stay. And here are pictures of the 3 girls growing up. There were things you can count: steps, plates, musical beats, and things you could count on. You could count on each other, family, and community. But you can also count on life being hard. In many places in the United States, it was against the law for Black people and white people to do things together. Black children couldn't go to school with white children. Whites only and colored only signs hung on bathrooms and swimming pools. In other words, white people told us, you were second-class citizens, stay away. How do you think Kathy felt when she was told that she was a second-class citizen? I don't think she felt very good, and I don't think it was right that somebody told her that she was a second-class citizen. During this time, there was a lot of school segregation, as you can see in the photo, and a lot of segregations in normal places like bathrooms, just like Kathy said, well, just like Katherine said, and swimming pools. So you could see in this picture, that's a real photo from our country years ago. And it separated men and women like we're used to in the bathrooms. And then they had one for colored people, which is not right. That's morally not right. And we do not do that anymore because it is not the right thing to do. You can also see in this photo, there was a door just for white people and the door for colored people, which is gross. During this time, there was a lot of unnecessary separating of people. And as a country, we have gotten over that a lot. It's interesting to see how these experiences affected Katherine and her daughters. So her daughter Joylette right here says, "But within our community, we were surrounded by our friends and family who protected us from the scary outside world." I think it was scary for people who were discriminated during that time. Colleges were kept separate too, and it was difficult for many Black people to find the time or money to attend college at all. But I was lucky to be able to take that step. At college, I took a class about how the sun, moon, and stars move, and I earned a degree in math. That class that Katherine took on how the sun, moon, and stars move is actually just called an astronomy class and is offered at like every college. So that astronomy class maybe is how she ventured into science, how she eventually ended up working in the science field even though she had a degree in math. Even so, it was hard to find work. For many Black people, it was also hard to find jobs other than laborers, janitors, servants, or maids. But with my college degree, I was able to become a teacher. I said education was the key to equality. Let's write down in our questions, what is equality? What does equality mean to you? Equality should be the equal treatment for everyone, regardless of their skin color or gender. Equality gives people equal opportunities. I believe in teaching, and I believe in my students, but Black teachers didn't earn a lot of money, and it could be a dangerous job. Many white people didn't want Black children to have an education, and Black teachers and students were often threatened. So my husband and I took a big step. We moved our family to a new home with more opportunities for work. And here's a picture of Katherine's family. But segregation couldn't be outstepped. In fact, Joylette, Kathy, and Connie were forced to face it in ways they never had to before. So this is Joylette, and that's Kathy, and that's Connie. And Joylette's saying, "Our new home was close to the ocean, but even the beaches were segregated. We were forced to go to the colored-only beach. White people were mean to us because of the color of our skin." And Kathy's saying, "I cried when we first arrived. I missed our old home. The sand at the beach felt hot and gritty. The ocean was cold and scary." Soon, things started looking up. I got a new job at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Let's pause and let's talk about what aeronautics is. So I would write down in my W column, what is aeronautics, to learn more about what aeronautics is. Aeronautics, which will be going on our word wall, involves creating vehicles to use for air travel. So when people travel in space, do we use aeronautics? I think aeronautics involves creating spaceships or aircrafts, so I'm going to say yes. What do you think? Let's continue reading. Engineers would ask important questions. Is the shape of this jet better? How can this plane fly farther? Then human computers would calculate the answers. On my first day, I picked out the perfect jacket and skirt, pearls, and red lipstick, and I reported to work. I was amazed to see dozens of college-educated African-American women typing numbers into their calculating machines. The sound of their click, click, clicking was like music. I took my seat and got to work. And here's a picture of Katherine at work. Every morning, I carefully chose my clothes and put on my pearls and lipstick and carpooled to work with other computers. Joylette saying, "Our neighborhood was full of smart, stylish Black women mathematicians. At church, at school pickups, at summer cookouts, and in our kitchen." Let's talk about what mathematicians are. Mathematicians are people who study math and who actually have careers that involve only math, just like computing and calculating, just like Katherine. Kathy's saying, "They took such pride in their jobs and looked so perfect every day. We didn't know quite what they did, but we wanted to be like them." We felt the need to be perfect. We needed to dress perfectly, act perfectly, and do perfect work. Even though most of us had college degrees and had earned high grades, the truth was that white people thought we weren't as smart as they were just because of the color of our skin. Kathy said, "I saw this kind of discrimination everywhere around me. Black people had to work twice as hard to be thought of as half as good as white people. It made me so mad." And this looks like a checklist of what Catherine used to do every morning when she used to go to work. So she used to arrive on time, and she crossed that on time row early just to be extra prepared. She checked off that she wore nice clothes, she had perfect hair, and she completed all her work during her workday. And just as there was segregation outside of the workplace, Black computers worked in an entirely separate area of the NACA campus. Even the bathrooms and cafeteria were separate. I chose to eat at my desk instead. I never missed a day of work. I loved the math, but even more, I loved asking questions. Most computers just calculated the math problems, but I wanted to know how the math was being used. I wanted to know why. White men weren't used to a Black woman questioning them. Some were angry, but I kept asking. Understanding why the numbers were needed helped me do my best work. One day, I went one step further. I asked, "Can I come to meetings?" The answer was no. Women, and especially computers, weren't allowed at meetings. "Is there a law against it?" I asked. I got to go to the meetings after that. Now, an important question to ask is that if something doesn't seem fair to us, should we question it? I think we should question things that don't seem fair.